Tacky Talk time, folks. It's State Representative Tacky Chan of Quincy here for our weekly updates. Hey, Tacky, how are you?
Hey, Joe, it's great to be here again. And this time it's a rainy Thursday.
I know that this is, we're getting down to the end of September now. Hard to believe.
Yeah, as you all been hearing, it's been a drought type summer, which now think about it. I should have been up on my roof cleaning out my gutters because, you want to clean them out when they're not full of water, right? But it's been, as you all know, been a very busy summer in the legislature. And a lot of those kind of things that I need to do in housekeeping got pushed to the side to the fall. And now it's raining. But no, this is obviously very good for the drought conditions we have. Statewide, Quabbin could use more rain as well as local wells. But the challenge, of course, is not really a challenge in the sense that we can do anything about it, but you don't want rain like a deluge. The ground ain't ready to absorb the water. It can cause all kinds of the chaos. So, we need steady rain, but not like, a nor'easter.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, it's typically how we get it around here. So we'll have to wait and see what the fall brings. We're actually recording this on the last day of summer.
Oh, that's right. We're into that part of the calendar of telling us when things happen, but this is New England. It happens when it really wants to happen on its own.
Exactly. So with the fall arriving also comes the fall election cycle, right?
Absolutely. We talked about the primaries last week. So if you want to see my thoughts on that, that was last week's podcast. Obviously, Democrats feel like they're in a very strong position going into November. The polling, the polling's the polling. You don't have to tell anybody about this. I mean, Maura Healey is just running away with it at this point, and the polling seems consistent from everybody across the board. And you do have a very underfunded Republican. He has about 16 grand in the bank, and I do not see a national money being put into this race because people are not that stupid with their money. National groups will look at viable races or highly competitive races and just dump like 30 million bucks or whatever into it.
We're seeing that in this New Hampshire Senate race. We're definitely seeing that.
Oh, absolutely, because we're the local media is part of the television coverage. So I'm sure those of us that still watch, the 6 to 7 p.m. news, which I do like to do as much as possible. You get that 5-minute block between 6:25 and 6:30, and it's a deluge of commercials, of which half of them are New Hampshire ones.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. And do you think that has an impact on voting in Massachusetts?
I don't believe so. I think all it does is create people to scratch their heads as who's this person that may be on my ballot.
Right.
But I mean, as a political junkie, one of the interesting things I did notice, particularly in the Republican Party, is who can out-Republican which Republican.
Yes, it's very true. One of them is claiming to be ultra conservative. Another one is a moderate conservative. It's interesting. Yeah,
it's interesting because we're such a full Democratic state, and we know New Hampshire is kind of a tale of two states, especially these days in politics. I do find it very interesting education watching these commercials with the other party in competitive primaries to see how the message works. And if you look carefully at the bottom, the super PACs.
Mm-hmm.
Not candidate driven. So the candidates actually don't know what the ads are. And the super PAC has to operate independently of the candidate. So when that happens, maybe the candidate's like, oh, this is great. Or maybe the candidate's like, oh my God, you're killing me. But the candidate can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I think people do not understand that for sure because the candidates are featured in the ads.
Absolutely. And that's kind of one of the really kind of the tricks, so to speak, of the super PACs. They can use your image as a candidate and either, try to make you look good, try is the key word, or, slander you immensely, which they can do as well. And sometimes they try to make you look good and it kind of like blows up in your face. And that actually did happen in the primary. I mean, the heavy ads for I can't remember that state senator to make him look as uber Republican right wing as possible didn't make it out of the primary. He got crushed by actually a more conservative person than those ads you saw. And same thing in the Republican primary on the congressional side, where Republicans are trying to get rid of this 25-year-old woman. Republican, try to make her look like a young person, foolish Is she considered a millennial? I have no idea what these things are called. I think like,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe, but they're trying to make it look very foolish in these super PACs. And it didn't work. She went through a very smooth victory in a large primary field. So, like I said, sometimes these attack ads done poorly, or these buff you up ads done poorly, doesn't sell to party voters in primaries.
Right. But back here in Massachusetts, it appears at least right now, given all the polling and the campaign spending, that Maura Healey's going to break the curse of attorney generals running for governor.
Yeah, it's a long curse. Frank Bellotti, Hochberger, Riley, my former employer Martha Coakley, in the tightest governor's race we've seen in like a century. Those less than 50,000 votes, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And now we have Maura Healey for the first time. We have kind of a runaway train in a non-contested primary, really unheard of in Massachusetts. Democrats murder each other in primaries in this state.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that. It's the blood fight is the Democratic primary. Having done one myself many years ago. A very, underfunded opponent that frankly has no name recognition. It's very low. And the people who do have his name recognition, according to polling I got recently, only connects him to Donald Trump and absolutely nothing else. They know nothing else.
Right. Yeah. So, well, we'll see what happens. Of course, nothing's a foregone conclusion, but trends at least are indicative of what's going to happen. I think you'll see that the turnout, I think, will be higher than the primary was.
Yes, it will be significantly higher. Not a lot of national politics will be driving out folks to send messages about their position. I do believe it's going to be a very strong Democratic year, with especially with Roe versus Wade's decision. The most recent stunt that we talked about with DeSantis and sending migrants up from Florida, that only, to be honest with you, just helps Democrats when you see that type of behavior. Basically done to the people of Massachusetts. I'm not saying the word that in a negative manner whatsoever, but I mean, it's what he did. And a lot of investigations will be going on that. Very happy here at Texas Sheriff's like, hey, this doesn't seem right. What you doing? And I think, that's another thing. I'm happy that law enforcement at the county, because the county runs government really, those states have stepped forward and, said, we should take a look at this. Just let it slide.
Yeah, so it's interesting. From what I've been able to read and comprehend, these people were not illegal, quote unquote. They were in the system and waiting to be processed when they were lured away.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend I know more than anyone else in this one. The governor's office did provide us information about what human services they're providing in terms of transition and how to handle the matter. But I mean, in terms of like details, I can't say. But my understanding is the same you understand. These are folks seeking legal asylum. They have pending immigration court cases in Florida, or some were actually this past Monday. For those who don't realize, you don't show up at immigration court, you got a real problem. On rescheduling, this is so backlogged. And sometimes the court looks at it very, very poorly if you don't make your appearance on time. You guys can imagine what that's like if you're supposed to make a court case and you're up here trusting the Florida government to do the right thing. People forgot that part. They trusted them. They trusted government. And this is a clear breach of trust. And the Florida governor and certain folks are acting like, yeah, that's cool.
And using, as I understand, taxpayer dollars to commit that, dupe, if you will.
Absolutely. And that's part of it as well. I mean, the taxpayers should, definitely hold people accountable of how it's spent. Clearly, I get unhappy emails. So I know what it's like. But I mean, especially someone who wants to run for president, using this as basically a political way to garner his base, to quite frankly, who don't think about what you just said. How do you trust an elected official which misuse people's trust that are here legally and the political asylum folks? This isn't just, other types of immigrants, because Venezuela, they will get killed if they go home, right? If you know anything about Venezuela, right now is this very unstable civil war where the U.S. is recognizing the president-elect of the opposition that's in exile, fighting the current president who controls the military. And these are folks who spoke out and stood for democracy, pursuant to the State Department's position. And they can't go to the Venezuelan consulate. They will be arrested immediately. They can't go home. They will die. And they're here legally seeking asylum, waiting for a court to decide their status. And they trusted the government of Florida on their word of what they say they were going to do. And they end up in Martha's Vineyard. Now, I'm sure some people will call, I know that people, I do know that people in this city are different opinions on immigration, and some are very compassionate folks, and I'll be honest, some are not. But let's skip all that for a second. This is government at its worst on trusting government's word. And this is not like building a road where it affects a neighborhood. This is like a one-on-one trust issue, right? Like literally personal.
Yeah, according to that sheriff that you mentioned in Texas, there's a woman was paid, to actually lie to these people to convince them to get on those planes, go to Florida, and then from there, the system continued to fail, and they ended up in Martha's Vineyard. Have you touched base with your colleagues down on the Cape about this, Jackie?
Yeah, my co-chair, Sue Moran, is the senator from the Cape. She's in the Barnstable to Plymouth district, and I love Sue. Great to work with her and a great friend. And it's a juggle right now. I mean, they're at the military base down there, and human services are coming in. But the problem, again, is there's a lot of legal problems that have arisen. You've seen there's a class action suit. There's a criminal investigation in Texas. These folks do not know what happened. They don't know if they still have a job. If they had a job in Florida, they don't know if they still have a job anymore. There's a whole lot of what do we do now moments. It's like imagine being, in a foreign country, you don't speak the language or you have minimal language skills, and someone picked you up, said, we're going to take care of you, get on this. Don't worry about your job at home. Don't worry about those immigration court cases. Don't worry about anything. We're going to give you a better life, and you get transported out. Mm-hmm. It sounds like human trafficking, doesn't it?
I think that term was mentioned more than once. Yes.
But that's how coyotes, those are the terms of people who smuggle folks from South America, Central America into the United States under the promise of hope. In that case, they pay coyotes like $10,000, $20,000 US and to do that. And many of them die in travel. Some are robbed, raped, and killed on the way up, seeking a safer life, trying to escape a war-torn area or extreme poverty or cartels. I'm having a hard time seeing the difference other than the fact that, Florida taxpayer money was used.
Yeah. And to see, I think seeing the pictures, the videos of these folks dispelled a lot of myths about what a migrant looks like and is. I mean, this was not a ragtag group of people that, swam to this country on inner tubes. They're educated people, their families, their children, trying to make a better lives for themselves.
No, absolutely. And, as you all know, I talk to other consulates, talk to a lot of folks outside of Quincy. I do talk to people outside of Quincy, guys, right? And is the benefit of one of these jobs gives me a lot of exposure to a lot of different people and ideas. And, when a lot of countries trust us to be good people because that's what they're taught at home. Most countries don't look at us as evil imperialists. That's kind of a very small group of folks that take advantage of America's position in the world to drum up their local people to keep them in power, right? Mm-hmm. North Korea is an example of that. You've seen that in China. You see that in other dictator countries. Now, Russia, for example, right? Obviously, Venezuela. And a lot of folks, as you point out, have access to the internet, they're better educated, and they look at us as the example of stability, democracy, and opportunity. And, this really shatters faith in people about quite frankly, very positive qualities in the United States. And it's somewhat very shameful to find yourself in that position where, as a collective country, people are going to look at us like, we're just dishonest and untrustworthy, and their belief in our standards of quality and morality has now been questioned.
Yeah. Hopefully, at least this issue may have prevented future incidents like this from occurring.
No,
You don't
no,
think so?
no. I mean, these are all political stunts. I mean, that is not me being partisan. I mean, and I've been around a while watching a lot of stunts, whether it be in Quincy local level, on the federal level, and even on the international level, right? We see missiles being flown over Taiwan, right?
Mm.
It's not like, although that's kind of an extreme stunt when you're tossing missiles at people. But I mean, they're partially stunts too. It's all about political, whether it be local politics at home or geopolitical politics. And also politics at home. You're selling things at home to distract you from something else, or to garner nationalistic support to maintain your position of power. And nationalism is a good thing and a bad thing. And it's about supporting the country, not about supporting an individual. And America historically has been very respectful of people in office. You may not like people, but they're respectful of the office because we're here to support not the individual, but support the whole community, support the whole country. It's really a big part of the U.S. philosophy, especially even part of nationalism. People didn't become supporters of World War II because of they were there backing Roosevelt as an individual. They're backing the principles of America and the need to support these principles that are being eroded in Europe and other parts of the world because of the Nazis movement, as well as imperialist Japan. And well, Italy was kind of interesting, as we know, in World War II. It's an interesting conversation about their role.
Well, they finally figured it out.
Mussolini had a lot of problems in World War II. That's why no one talks about World War II with them involved. People forgot they were part of the axis of power, right?
They were misled. They were led down the wrong path, but they figured it out.
And Mussolini got his at the end, right? So,
right.
But no, it's kind of when I learn about nationalism in school, and it's not about rallying around individuals, rallying around the country. So that 9/11, reference was made to that by Joe Biden during the 9/11 memorial. We rally around people, us as a collective, not around a single person. And it's
right. Yeah, I think Congressman Lynch mentioned it at the Quincy service that I know you were at as well.
Yes, and this is kind of the change in America that we often see in, frankly, communist and dictator countries. They rally around the individual.
Let's switch gears a little bit if we can, Tacky, and talk about, there are going to be 4 ballot questions in Massachusetts this year. I don't think people know that.
Yeah, ballot questions tend to get blank because people don't know what they are. Let's chat about a couple of them because a couple of them we talked about a lot already. So let's talk about question 1 a bit. You guys all now saw advertising. I've talked about this last year because we haven't talked about it in a long time.
The millionaire tax.
The so-called millionaire's tax.
Yeah.
So this is a constitutional change. Under the state constitution, it requires the approval of 2 separate legislative sessions to give a majority vote to put on the ballot. The next state election year, once approved by the legislature, it will be on the ballot, and if it reaches a majority vote, the Constitution is now amended. So this is actually not a ballot question to change the law. This is a constitutional amendment. This is a very difficult thing to make happen because, again, it takes 2 consecutive legislative sessions to vote on the issue positively in a constitutional convention of both the House and the Senate together with a majority vote. So it takes, 6 years to put on the ballot. So as you guys look at this, be mindful. This is one of those things that's going to be around for a long time because it takes, as you notice, quite a few years to change it. So what it does is adds 4% to every dollar over $1 million that a person earns in income. And this is a little bit of an interesting question because what is income? So
exactly, that's the question to be asked, right?
Yeah, and opponents have actually presented a very good job on that front, posing that question, because some of us may have temporary increases in income, such as sale of homes and the such. sale of business. What does it mean to your tax situation? And of course, they have very good accountants. I'm sure they can work something out. And then you have this advertising part regarding pass-through income in business, Schedule C's, C Corps, S Corps, personal corporations, which really don't exist much anymore, and it passes right through to your bank account. However, on the pass-through, it can create a lot of personal expenses, which can also reduce your tax burden immensely, like vehicle expense, office expense, rental expense, all the expenses of doing business that reduces the size of your income, and that's your true income, your adjusted gross income.
Mm-hmm.
Right, as well as even though you have an S Corp or C Corp, there's all kinds of payroll things you can work as well, because this is an income tax change, not a business tax change.
Right. Yes.
So it's kind of a case by case situation, as I like to put it. It's not like a one size fit all, and everybody is different regarding their finances, and whether this impacts your finances. Well, I can't tell you because it's your finances. You guys can do the math, individually decide if this will impact you. According to the proponents, it affects less than 1% of total income earners based on the 2014 statistics of wages collected.
Yeah, the biggest concern I've heard from folks is just because of the way the real estate market is around here, that $1 million, if you sell a home, you could easily surpass that.
That is an interesting concern, a legitimate concern. But again, how capital gains tax works and the ability to carry over from one home purchase to other purchase at the federal level. There's all kinds of interesting capital gains loopholes, so to speak, or conditional tax issues. And a lot of stuff sometimes also translates to the state level. And a lot of your deductibles on your federal taxes, believe it, actually transfers also to your state taxes also. Okay. It's a TurboTax. You realize that if you fill out your Schedule C, your Schedule A's, they kind of just move over to
you're pretty much done with the state once you've done your federal, right?
Yeah, it kind of just transfers over, many of them. So that's why I think if you're going to vote for this or not vote for this, I think you should you're right, look at your long-term interest regarding your property, look at your personal finances, pull out your tax records. If you think you're inside that bracket, obviously I'm far away from potentially paying 4%. I think a lot of our viewers and listeners are probably pretty far away. But it is a permanent issue. It is a permanent constitutional provision. And you're right, selling your home at a large amount of money may be impacted. And they don't talk to your own accountants about your tax liabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. And read this booklet that the Secretary of State's office sent out to everybody, because it is in there, but they're not all in here.
No, it is had to come out before mail-in ballots come out. The Secretary likes to get them out about the month before mail-in ballots come out. Normally, you would have saw that book a lot closer in October, but because of early voting mail-in ballots, this information has to get out to you sooner. So that's basically question one, folks. It is a very a permanent, not to say permanent, but a long-term situation, because it's difficult to change. And I ask that you all look at your own, your personal life and see how it's going to impact you as part of your decision making. So this one is, really has a real effect on you, and you get to decide whether it's a good idea or not.
Very good. And then a very little known question number 2 about dental insurance.
Yeah, we sometimes referred to as the Delta Dental issue, right? It's not a new issue. It runs reimbursements for dental care by insurance companies to your dentist. So, a lot of you what does that mean? Well, it's providing better reimbursement rates for care that you receive from your dentist from the dental insurers. So dentist insurance is one of those things that people don't really pay too much about. It's like eye care insurance. No one pays too much about, because it's kind of like the weird part of your life. But the reimbursement rates are controlled by the dental insurance companies. And they actually went down proportional to the size of the economy, proportional to the size of inflation the last decade or so, almost decade now. And the dentists are having a hard time making ends meet. Because we talked about earlier about, question one, there's business expenses, right? So you pay, let's say $100. That $100 doesn't go directly into the dentist's pocket.
Right.
You have payroll, material costs, all that. And, let's say your $100 payment, is really a $20 copay, for example, or $10 copay, and the insurance picks up the remainder. But the insurance reimbursement rate isn't that amount, and you're in a fixed copay situation, the dentist eats the remainder.
Yep.
In the situation that isn't a copay where you have to pay the differential, the dentist will obviously, require to pay the differential if you have that type of insurance. And if the dental business does not, dental insurance does not provide a better reimbursement for the dentist has to pass the cost. Or there'll be a service challenge, to actually provide those services to you.
Yeah.
So is this a good or bad thing? Well, it's kind of a tricky question, right? My instinct would be yes. And the reason I say that is because, if the insurance company is providing better reimbursement rates, it actually should help keep your out-of-pocket costs down, and also ensure that services you provide will continue to be providable.
Yeah, of course, the companies argue it'll force them to raise their rates.
Yeah, and raising rates is actually a collective issue, right? It's not just you, it's a collective benefit. So, insurance is one of the things that you hope you never have to use, but it's good to have. But when it comes to healthcare, it's not the same argument, because those arguments about, home, in case of fire burns on your home, right? If you have a car accident, you have, but hope you never use. Health insurance, you should be using your health insurance. And it's a shared cost among all people in health insurance. So you may be very young and healthy paying health insurance, but you're helping out somebody else, so-called, pay it forward to someone with health conditions that perhaps is an older person, but you perhaps as a younger person will also become an older person.
That's right. That's right. Plus, you can utilize it for preventative health services too.
And very much encourage that. A lot of insurance companies and health providers, offer things like gym memberships and other things. Do preventative health. Definitely get your annual check-in. Your flu shots, and now your COVID shots, as well as your tetanus shots, and now we got monkeypox shots.
Right, and whatever else, yeah.
Whatever else, checking your doctor and your health. I'm very diligent about my annual checkup, but also get your teeth cleaned, every 6 months. And your eyes checked a minimum once every 2 years. And you have no teeth, you can't eat. Eating is kind of fun. I think it's fun. Well, I have food allergies. It's a little less fun. But for most people, good health is actually got tied to good teeth.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, and a lot of folks don't think of it that way, but a lot of health issues can actually be identified by your dentist before your doctor.
Yeah, and infections in your teeth can actually go into your brain.
Yep.
So it's very important people have their teeth checked, and a dentist that you trust and like to have, and you trust their advice of how to care for your teeth. But people don't think about it very often because we kind of take for granted as kind of a day of life thing. But maintenance there is very important in terms of long-term health. And I hope everybody here, keep your teeth, to very old age. And it's been proven being able to eat, enjoy life, and also aesthetically be able to smile and feel good about yourself is actually a lot of it's tied to your teeth.
Oh yeah. So just from that booklet that I referenced on question 2, it says a yes vote would regulate dental insurance rates, including by requiring companies to spend at least 83% of premiums on member dental expenses and quality improvements instead of administrative expenses, and by making other changes to dental insurance regulations. That's a yes vote. A no vote would make no change to the law.
No, if you don't like the dental care you're getting because your insurance company isn't paying for it, you should vote yes.
There you go. Okay.
That's basically what they're trying to tell you.
And it's a very lengthy description of the proposed initiative, so I encourage folks to really read it closely and read it several times.
Yeah, and you actually get the full ballot question.
Yes.
Yeah, so you actually will see the ballot question and the summary in your mail-in ballot, so you can take your time reading it.
Good.
And you also get the red book, and you also got online. But if you're going to vote in person, ballot questions can be intimidating because you have all this section after voting for folks. Please vote for me. Please vote for me. I'm on the ballot. But no, just making fun there. But in all seriousness, it takes a bit of effort, and the print's really tiny. There's only so much you can fit on the ballot, and I think everybody
Right.
sees. But things like mail-in ballot, early voting, the Red Book, the internet, tons of advertising if you want to
Yeah.
watch what advertising pro and against, and can help you make an informed decision. It's up to you to decide.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a very expensive ballot. I've been informed that both the proponents and the opponents are going to spend $5 million each.
Wow. Okay. So just to show you how important both sides think it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And the opposition will likely have national money.
Yeah. And then 3 and 4 we've talked about in the past. Regarding 3 is regarding expanding alcohol licenses, and then question 4 is the so-called driver's license initiative.
Yeah, we've talked about those adding an item at this point. I mean, question 3, very simply, expands the number of liquor store licenses available in each community beyond the current numbers set by the U.S. Census. And number 4 is a question about whether we should allow a very limited set of undocumented immigrants to have driver's licenses. The legislature passed into law, and I say it's a limited set because they have to have a passport, have a consulate identification, either or. They have to pass a driving exam, which none of us needed to do to pass a driving exam to get a license, which is also cost prohibitive for some folks, and also obviously pass the driving exam itself. So it is not open to everyone. It does close the door to a lot of folks, including people we just talked about earlier. Those Venezuelans or political asylum seekers, if they do not have their passport, which most people do not have passports globally, they can't go to the Venezuelan consulate.
There you go.
They can't get a driver's.
November 8th is the in-person voting, but I know early voting starts actually October 22nd starts early voting.
Yes, Nikki and the clerk's people should have their online times and dates, and you guys will have that as well on early voting. And your mail-in ballots should be showing up sometime the second week of October. You have plenty of time still to register to vote online. You have plenty of time still to get your mail-in ballot, whether online or call the clerk's office, or you should have all got your little forms back in August, self paid for things you can put in the mail. And, I believe they need to have at least one Saturday of early voting. And this will help reduce the congestion on voting day. To be honest with you, people like it. And the numbers show it. The numbers show it.
Just the convenience factor, I think, is huge for people.
Yeah, people do like it. I know that, some folks think it's bad, but it was bad. Why are people doing it?
Well, it's interesting. Mail-in voting is not new. They've been doing it for the military and for, remote areas for many years.
Yeah, people forget that. I mean, beyond just absentee voting, people have been providing ballots to overseas military personnel and obviously people living overseas. And people also forget, Joe Shea and Nikki also provides access to early voting for people that live in assisted living facilities.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
Joe Shea for many years, and it's now Nikki, go to assisted living facilities, the clerk's office, personally assist people in assisted living facilities their ability to exercise their right to vote ahead of the election. Most people don't realize this stuff. I mean, they act like it's all like brand new. It is not. We've been doing this stuff forever, it feels like, at least in my lifetime.
Any news on the economic development bill at Beacon Hill, Jackie?
Well, conversations still continue.
Okay.
I don't expect us to come back into session. And
Okay.
I've been telling all my friends, they're asking me questions about issues they have in the bill. Don't get your hopes up. I'm not the optimistic human that we discovered over 3 years of time together. But I can confirm that House and Senate leadership, respective chairs, are having conversation.
Okay.
And we'll see if anything materializes fall. As a reminder to folks that we are in formal session. Any single person can stop issue moving forward in informal session, any individual legislator. And also, since it's a conference committee, we are able to release parts of the bill. We don't have to release the entire bill.
Okay.
So, stay tuned. You may see, a couple pieces come out, and a particular one you've read in the news is regarding the hospitals. the COVID reimbursement. I know I've seen these conspiracy memes as well as you guys may have about these hospitals, encouraging COVID because they get paid by the feds. Oh yeah, that's out there. And but most people don't tell the second half is the reimbursement rate is not covering their cost that is now lost from their normal business to get from insurance companies. Insurance companies are not paying hospitals right now because of the COVID costs. They're not paying for it, it's the feds. The reimbursement rate is not even as good as Medicare.
Wow.
So, they need a little bit of financial assistance to the tune of over $300 million. And the hope is that maybe you can move at least, one small piece of that.
Okay. All right. Stay tuned on that. Want to talk about international affairs at all? I know the UN General Assembly has been meeting with a very grim outlook on the world.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been having grim outlooks in the world for like 3 years now. So what's another issue, right? President Zelensky, obviously, you've all heard, made an appearance, set down demands, which are no surprise demands. Get out of my country. I mean, what was going to say? Sure, this is, stick around. I mean, get the hell out, right? Get out. And also Liz Truss made her first appearance as Prime Minister of England. Of the United Kingdom. She was the foreign affairs minister prior to being prime minister. So a lot of this stuff, was really good for her in the sense that she's already has a lot of these diplomatic connections and skills prior to being prime minister. Interesting choice in the UK for those who don't realize that the prime minister is elected by the party in power. And then they actually put the nominees, top two nominees in front of the party itself, and it's not like a primary here. It's only party members who actually have to pay to be a member of the party. So the prime minister is really chosen by not by entirely by the party in power, but also by the paid, which is nothing wrong with that. I'm not being facetious or mean about being a paid party member, but that's just how it works. Of like 2,000 some odd people.
Yep. And those can get very boisterous, those parliamentary sessions.
Oh yeah. And even within the fight within the party itself, it's very engaging. It's not like a cakewalk. You have to go in offense and defense with your small group of voters to convince people that you're the right person to lead the party as well as lead parliament.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's very interesting. So I mean, two big speeches that UN, obviously one's been the front line for the news for 7 months now. And another one that's a world leader that frankly, the Western world does look to. I mean, I know the history of UK is a long history of imperialism and all that stuff, but there's still a top 6 economy or maybe top 5 economy. And they're still a key player in Europe, and they're a key player in the defense of Europe's security, along with the French, the Germans, and the Italians in particular. They have larger standing armies. Obviously it's in their backyard, and they control the shipping lanes around that region for the Russians to get in and out. So we'll see how it plays out. But, you've seen in the news, the Ukrainian offensive, they did a feint. They said they were going south, but they're really going north. Look south, we're going northeast.
Yeah, he's definitely got some military prowess for sure.
Yeah, and we know that the U.S. is helping them. I mean, let's not pretend they're not. I mean, not just in equipment. And nowadays we have civilian GPS satellites all over the place providing. Here we got pictures. Enjoy. I mean, you don't think Elon Musk is just giving things away at this point? It's such a different world now that you have private companies with satellite imaging. They can just decide just to give to people if they feel like it, as well as Starlink internet access from Elon Musk to make sure their internet system doesn't go down. It's such a different world, isn't it? And how we operate. And drones, we use drones and artillery. And it's like a tale of two artillery. You got the World War II style Russian just bombard and blow everything up along the way because it has. I mean, I could throw a baseball more accurate than what they're shooting. Meanwhile, you have a U.S. equipment that's small, portable, deadly, and mobile equipment that's enormously accurate. And by the time you found out there was the discharge of the weaponry, the artillery is gone. The vehicle that discharged it is no longer there anymore, moved.
Right.
So it is actually interesting how you have really this tale of two wars in terms of the equipment. And in obviously morales go to the group that's protecting their homeland. They're protecting the home and their families and their lives, and morale is stronger there. And Putin had supposed to make an announcement on Monday. He got pushed out 2 days, and even then, they kept pushing it out every hour on his announcement. On basically bringing back a variation of conscription, something he outlawed himself when he came to power over 20 years ago, and he reinstituted conscription. So they got a problem. And people don't realize that you actually have to rotate soldiers. I mean, they've been fighting 7 months nonstop in the field. They didn't get a break. You don't get a break. It's not like a day job, right? And at some point, there's wear and tear on the psyche and the bodies of your soldiers, and you got to kind of rotate them. The Russians have no capacity for rotation. It's very obvious. So you wouldn't call it conscription if you had the ability to rotate. In Ukrainian volunteers keep coming forward.
Some troubling news here at home regarding energy prices this winter, Tacky.
You saw the Globe article, huh?
I did see the Globe article.
Yeah, is it true or not true? As you guys know, I do a lot of energy work in my life, both in the Senate for Morrissey as well as in the AG. And even though I do consumer protection professional election now, I mean, I still keep some tabs, and I do know a thing or two about a thing or two. I know the media's been talking about inflation. I mean, it's out there. I think it's inside the people's psyche. Right now, I think consumer spending will go down in preparation of what you described, higher energy prices in the fall, in the wintertime. Let's hope for a warm winter, guys.
Yes.
Gas prices are going down, but that's a lot of interesting factors that do that in speculative market. But it's a supply, now we have a different supply chain issue that we didn't have to face nearly as much when the Ukraine war began. Even though only 9% of all natural gas comes from Russia to the US, it's still 9%, right? If I remember them correct, that's still a lot.
Yeah.
And you can only stick so much in the pipe because the pipe only has so much capacity, and the refineries and other transport mechanisms can only move so quick. The laws of physics still apply, folks. You don't get there so fast. You can only refine so much. So is it going to be like 60% spikes? Yeah, but let's put it in a little perspective. Massachusetts is a natural gas priority for home heating, right? So if you have a natural gas shortage for energy generation, electrical generation, the natural gas is prioritized for home heating. When you don't have enough natural gas for local generation, you have to do what we call surge or spike or spot pricing for electricity. And ICE New England controls the transmission system. They monitor the situation in 15-minute increments. If there's a signal that there's going to be a massive electrical disruption because there's not enough natural gas and it has to go to home heating, they'll put out contracts in 15-minute increments to see who can give us power in 15 minutes. And the bids will obviously work against us.
Yeah.
Because we can get in 15 minutes. Law of economics is not complicated, folks. You need it in 15 minutes or less.
And you're going to pay a premium. Yeah.
In your premium. So this is the interesting question about that, and whether or not, depending on how the winter goes, are there going to be a lot more spikes in the electric bill because of spot need? So I'm going to tell you, when the winter is really bad, it's going to be tough. Yeah. Now, those of you on heat pumps, you'll hear about heat pumps all the time, is 100% electrically driven. So while you're not using natural gas, which actually helps the folks that are in natural gas because you're not consuming, and it may help a little bit the energy generation for gas plants, you will feel the spike on electrical costs higher than you would if you're a natural gas heating customer. And you'll be sticker shock this winter, like big time. Because even though folks are natural gas, even though they have home heating that may be not water-based, but like HAV based, like my home, running that electric fan for the natural gas is a lot less electricity to run your heat pump.
Right. Yeah. You're getting a double whammy. You're paying for both your electricity and your heat, and if they're both going up, then yeah.
And if you're forced hot water, I mean, it's forced hot water, guys. So you all know how that works.
Yeah, it's just a small circulator pump, not a big deal. Yeah.
Big deal in terms of your electrical cost. So I know there's been a lot of talk about these different type of heating systems and getting off of natural gas and all that, and I get it. But this is going to be the untold story, and to be honest with you, people are going to tell it about their. They're going to focus. The media is going to hyper focus on gas prices and electrical prices, but they won't focus on who is paying how much for a heat pump once you get past installation and the electrical impact. People are going to talk about that, and like I said, I don't think anybody will, because it's kind of like a political correct thing right now, right? But that's what's going to happen. It's going to be 60%. It's a little bit, like I said, a little bit tricky because the nature of spot power.
Right. Yeah. And there are programs, help assistance programs available if folks qualify. They should definitely look into. Everybody can insulate their homes better, and stop air leaks with caulking and weather stripping, things like that.
Close your drapes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Something so was closing your drapes. And also, limit your electrical usage by turning on and off lights, which is something we've been taught since we were kids. And obviously unplug your portable devices. I mean, I'm using my work Surface here, and it's not plugged into the wall. I'm running off the battery.
Mm-hmm.
And actually helps your electrical costs, as well as unplugging things like your surge protectors, small things like that. And also off peak, while daytime hours, there's a higher usage. Try doing your laundry after 9 p.m., after 10 p.m. You may save a little bit of money because the electrical costs will shift. And we are deregulated electrical generation. I've had to explain this to people, which I find interesting. We've been deregulated electricity since 2000. People still think the utility owns the electrical generation. They don't. It's all competitive. And sometimes it works really well. But given the challenge of speculative investment on energy, obviously, this has been really challenging. Ukraine war was unseeable. We didn't know this was going to happen. And of course, COVID, completely messed everything up regarding energy supply chain, as you all saw, regarding, the price of oil dropping below $0 for the first time in its history.
When no one was driving, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, it's pretty unique sort of circumstances. But this is a foretended in the future too. Climate change is going to have a huge impact on your electrical prices, on your heating in the wintertime as we have more extreme weather. We had an unusually hot summer, and I don't know what the winter will bring because, again, this is New England. Who knows what's going to happen? But we do need snow, folks. I mean, one of the reasons we had a massive drought because we didn't have a great snow winter. And particularly in the Quabbin and particularly on people with reservoirs and wells. I mean, snowpacks are very important. So, not like I'm wishing us to get back pain this winter, but we could use some steady snow.
Yeah, well, actually, snowy winters are typically a little bit warmer than just bone chilling colds, because when it's too cold to snow.
Yeah, that's true. I'd rather have a temperate 40 degrees and shoveling versus fluffy. Well, actually, no, I like fluffy stuff. So I mean, we do like a little bit of a combo here where it's like 20 degrees fluffy and I can get it out of the way fast.
Let's just how about a 50-degree winter? That'd be
yeah, avoid all the shoveling together.
Yeah.
We just have a light rain all the time. I just thought about it for a second. I was like, no, I'd rather have fluffy snow. It's much easier on my back.
Let's give out your contact information.
Sure. 617-722-2370, 617-722-2370. Call the office, hit a button. Someone will be there to pick up the phone or just leave a message and one of us will get back to you somehow. Obviously, you can reach me at tackey.chan@amahouse.gov, tackey.chan@amahouse.gov. As you all know, I still prioritize, my emails around people that need help right away, like constituent problems. I do read them all your email. I read them whether you individually rate them or you write them in bulk as part of a listserv, and people love their listservs. State Representative Tackey Chan Facebook. You all know the drill. It's my social media. We put out public hearings up there as chair of a committee, as well as useful information and some pictures of where I've been, which you guys actually use to ask about where I've been. I have a Twitter account at Tackey Chan, as well as the tackeychan.org website. Just some useful information there. We're still discussing how we're going to update various things. And then we also have obviously the state website, malegislation.gov. It's a little slow for some reason, the state website. It's got to be a traffic issue depending on time of day, but you guys can look up your bills and whatnot there as well. And plenty of information available all over the place.
All right. Appreciate it, Tacky. Always fun and informative.
No, it's always good to see you, and hopefully we'll see you in a week's time.